If you were given the chance to live forever, would you do it? You wouldn't have to do anything extra, you just swallow a pill and you become immortal. The only catch is that you can never reverse it. You would be alive forever. Seems like a pretty sweet deal. Death is the end of the party. It's the universal fear. Who would say no? I would say no. There's almost nothing I wouldn't do to keep myself from becoming immortal, because there is nothing more cruel, more relentless, more punishing than immortality. Maybe you think I'm being dramatic, but it's true. My mind balks at the level of regret I would have if I chose to become immortal. But don't just take my word for it. Let's play it out. Let's say you were the only one to become immortal. Morpheus emerges from the Matrix and offers you the pill of immortality. You think, hey, how lucky am I? So you swallow it. Now, one possibility is that despite being immortal, your body still ages. Let's say you get the pill when you're young. You're going to live a long life, so you start working out, eating right, but your body still ages like the rest of us, so by the time you're 150 years old, you're a mess. You can't die, but life is painful. That would suck. But that's an easy one. Everyone can see why that sucks. Let's say you don't age. You're like a vampire. You get bit at 23 and you stay young and beautiful forever. No health problems here. You can smoke a cigar covered in asbestos, down a gallon of bleach, and go run a triathlon. No problem. Well, now you hit 200 years old and you're feeling great. You never felt better. Your spouse is dead, your children are gone, you have no family or friends from before, but that's alright. You'll find new friends. No one needs to know how old you are. So you keep this up and 1,000 years pass. Civilizations have fallen. You've seen war, famine, you name it. 10,000 years pass and who knows what's happening. Maybe humanity is still alive and well. That's cool. 100,000 years pass and the world is virtually unrecognizable to the person you were in the 21st century. It's now the 1000th and 21st century. Think about that for a second. The Buddha was alive 25 centuries ago. It's now been over 1,000 centuries that you've been walking the earth. At this point, humanity may have died off. You could be scavenging through the burnt wreckage of a bygone era. Because you're only one person with no humans left to help you, you can't possibly fill your every need. You still need food, so much of your time is spent hunting and gathering. Not easy all on your own. In one scenario, you have a period of a few years where food becomes scarce and you grow weak. You can't die, but you barely have enough energy to cross the street. You no longer have enough energy to get more food, and you fall to the floor, where you will lie for 1 trillion years. Congratulations. Let's say food is no issue. Somehow, miraculously, you can run on empty forever. You're 500,000 years old, and you've walked across every surface of the planet. 1,000,000 years old, and you know every inch of this tiny blue dot in the universe. The boredom begins to seep in. There is nothing new under the sun. 3 million years old, and you begin to develop a tic. You've begun talking to yourself. You're 500 million years old, 1 billion years old, 2 billion years old. You're so old. So old and so bored. So old that you've lived long enough to see the sun explode. But unfortunately, you are immortal. So it doesn't kill you. It's very hot, and then very cold, and the feeling of no longer having air to breathe is uncomfortable, but you're stuck in space now, where you will float until God knows how many years will pass before the universe collapses in on itself, or you get sucked into a black hole, where you'll get torn to shreds and compressed into a space tinier than the smallest cell in your body, where you will live until the end of time. Nice. Even if humanity managed to invent space travel before it disappeared, you would still eventually run out of gas, or something would smack into your spaceship, and you would end up in the void of space where you would wait for the black hole to draw you in. That all sounds pretty bad. The mental strain that millions and billions and trillions of years would have on you is unfathomable. But isolation is not a human being's ideal state, so let's go back to the beginning, and instead of just you becoming immortal, everyone becomes immortal. You get to keep all of your friends, your family will always be there for you, yada yada yada. Let's say things go well for a time. We enter a golden age, and everyone's doing great. Super. Eventually, maybe 10 years in, maybe 10 million years in, human nature steps back to the fore, and war breaks out. Only nobody can die, so bullets and bombs are useless. So instead of blowing people up, we devise ways to bury them. We develop a bomb that covers a city in dirt or cement or whatever you like. Congratulations, you've won the war if you were on the winning side. If you weren't, you have the next 2 or 3 billion years to wait under whatever rubble you're stuck under until the sun explodes and you get launched into space where the black hole gets you. Let's be generous though. After the war is over, a team of volunteers goes and claws people back out of whatever they're trapped under. Of course, they don't find everyone, but some people get out of the muck they were in. Hooray. You're on the right side of history. Your society wins most of the wars, and when you lose, the rescue team manages to find you. You invent space travel and go off into the stars. Sometimes spaceships crash, and you wind up in the black hole anyway, or you crash land on an icy planet where you will shiver endlessly until the universe collapses in on itself. Or maybe you accidentally steer too close to the sun on a dare, and it pulls you in and you burn forever and ever, basking in a fiery aura of immortal anguish. Hell yeah. I could go on, but I think you get the picture. Death is a gift. There are a nearly infinite number of situations where, if you couldn't die, you would end up in a situation of endless pain or with such a severe level of boredom that you go insane. Forever. You would revert to an animal, only worse because you vaguely remember standing upright. The universe is not necessarily an endless parade of pain and suffering, but they are consistent features of the human experience. Within a universe like ours, death is the best option for when someone's level of pain has gone too far. If death was no longer available, the level of pain that we could endure would no longer have an upper limit. There would literally be no way out. If that doesn't scare the living hell out of you, I don't know what would. You could fall into some industrial machinery when no one is watching and you end up stuck in there for years or decades or centuries. Or maybe you fall into a volcano or any number of terrible situations. Having an off switch seems like good foresight. There's an old Christian story about the wandering Jew who was cursed to walk the earth until the second coming for mocking Jesus as he carried the cross. Everyone talks about wanting to become immortal, but the worst punishment Jesus could think of for this guy wasn't even to live forever, it was just to live a long time. You may think that 100 years is too short, but it's really not. It's a good amount of time. Ask anyone who's lived that long if they want to live another 100, and I bet that very few, if any, would take it. If you acknowledge that, eventually, death is a good thing, then you can make peace that it may happen a little sooner than you'd like. The acceptance of death is a liberating act, because you're no longer uselessly running in the opposite direction. You're free to embody who you are right now, regardless of how old you are, because everything is as it should be. The slow march towards your inevitable doom feels a little less daunting. If you take it out of fantasy, immortality really is the worst possible outcome given the world that we live in. There's no need for fear of death, even if what lies beyond is unknown. Whatever lies beyond death cannot be worse than 100 trillion years in this world, even if the afterlife ends up being nothing at all. I would take empty, mindless silence over the screeching, raving madness of endless life. When the time comes, of course. I'm not knocking on the door of the euthanasia department just yet. 100 years is nice. The world is challenging, but has good moments. When I'm 100 years old, I'll have had my fill. A party that lasts too long inevitably becomes grotesque and depressing. Let's call it a night before it goes too far. If you liked the video and want to see more, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Helps me out with the algorithm. See you in the next one.